Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in today to learn more about Adventure Canada and our High Arctic Explorer expedition. That's going to be sailing August 5th to the 16th of 2021 aboard the Ocean Endeavour. My name's Brenna Green. I'm an adventure specialist and part of the expedition team on board. I was fortunate enough to travel on this very expedition in 2019, and I was scheduled to do it again this August, actually. But as we all know a bit too well by now, that was, of course, postponed. So instead of the high Arctic, I'm here at my apartment in southern Ontario, keeping the travel fire burning by looking ahead to next year's adventures. And I suppose that's likely what brought many of you here today, looking ahead to future adventures in a time of no travel. What I really love about creating these webinars is that it gives me the opportunity to disconnect from the world, which is something that we all really need right now. And I get to walk down memory lane of my past travels. And that lane is filled with incredible, irreplaceable, and just absolutely remarkable memories thanks to Adventure Canada. Like this one here that you're seeing on the screen. That's me there with really great company walking along the ice fjord in Ilulissat. So thank you truly to all of you who continue to tune into our webinars week after week. It is incredibly appreciated. So thank you. Today, I'll be sharing what I think makes the High Arctic Explorer expedition stand out from the rest, why it should be your 2021 escape, and overall, I'll just be showcasing the Adventure Canada way of expedition travel based on my firsthand experience on board the ship. So this is the team shot on last season's High Arctic expedition. I'm smack dab there in the middle. Bonus points if you can point me out. I'm there holding the flag out on aft deck with just an incredible team of 30 resource staff. We're a Canadian family owned and operated company, and you'll feel that family vibe on board with us. There's always a member of the founding family on board. In this particular photo for the High Arctic expedition, we have Cedar Swan, who is the eldest daughter of the Swan family, who's now the CEO of the company. And she's joined by her husband, Jason, who's expedition leader, and she's holding their daughter, Isla. Having a member of the family on board each of our expeditions is absolutely a key component to what makes Adventure Canada really stand out from the rest. And even though it sounds like a simple concept, having a member of the family on board is actually incredibly valuable. They are so close to the travel experience by being on board with us that they can feel the energy, they can feel the vibe on board, they experience their product, they're engaging with guests' thoughts and their feelings. They feed off that excitement. And ultimately, all of that helps us develop the program on a regular basis, whether that be during the expedition itself or for future expeditions when building new product. So the company is constantly learning how they can improve because of their firsthand involvement. And I just think that's really an incredible component to Adventure Canada. On top of the Swan family being active on board, each of our office staff members are also involved in the onboard program, including myself. So when I was on board in 2019, I really noticed three distinct themes of the High Arctic Explorer expedition that I think is what makes it the incredible journey that it is. And so throughout the presentation today, I'll be going into the meat and potatoes of each of these 3 points. So number one, it takes place during the height of Arctic summer. Number two, you get the highlight bucket list destinations of the Northwest Passage in a more time and cost efficient manner. And number three, it has a refined balance between community visits and wild remote landings. So while all seasons in the high Arctic have their perks, of course, traveling by ship in the height of summer offers some compelling arguments to why midsummer might be the best time to visit. In August, weather can be expected to be around 10 to 20 degrees Celsius, or if you're tuning in from the States, that would be about 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The Arctic tundra is in full bloom in August, so we have over 1,700 species of plants, thanks to the ice in the top layer of soil thawing, giving most plants that opportunity to grow and reproduce, which makes summer an ideal time for botanist enthusiasts to be visiting. But it's not just flora that we're looking down for. There's also an abundance of blue and crowberries at this time of year. It's a small but mighty highlight for me as someone who likes to snack. There's no better quick treat than one straight from Mother Earth herself. And in exchange for the northern lights later in the season, midsummer brings 24-hour sunlight, which lasts throughout the Arctic summer, landing the Arctic the nickname Land of the Midnight Sun. 24-hour sun really is a photographer's dream. Now you might think, but I really love photographing sunsets, but do not fret, sunset photographers. You're still going to go get those incredible sunset shots. It's just that you're going to have to work for it a little harder as the sun typically sets around midnight in the summer, dipping just below the horizon enough to turn the sky all these incredible shades of pink and orange and yellows before it bounces back up into the sky for another day. These photos here on the screen I took along the west coast of Greenland at about 11:30 p.m., despite it looking like it might be about 6 p.m. I always really love being out on deck for the sunset, despite the late hour. It's totally worth it. There's always this really incredible buzzing energy out on deck as everyone watches the sun sink below the horizon, and it's just a really magical time to be out there. Photography enthusiasts will be happy to know that all guests have access to our Nikon Loaner program on board, which is led by a professional photographer. So you can borrow different camera equipment from them, like Nikon cameras, lenses, and tripods to try out. The professional photographer also leads photography-themed excursions, presentations, and workshops all throughout the trip on board and on land. And this is also the perfect Arctic itinerary for intergenerational travel since it takes place during the kids' summer break. The experience to explore the Arctic at such a young age can have a life-changing effect. New friends can be made, new interests and hobbies can be discovered, but most importantly, maybe a new love and appreciation for nature and our planet can be fostered, giving children the opportunity to see the world from another perspective at an early stage in life. I first traveled to the Arctic with Adventure Canada when I was 20 years old, and I've personally experienced that awakening effect that the Arctic does have. My first visit to the Arctic lit a fire in me to take care of this beautiful world we live in, and it made me feel so small, but in a really good way. It brought me clarity, and it felt like the problems in my life were suddenly so light and maybe almost trivial now that I'd seen the problems that our environment is taking on, which are so much bigger than my own problems. Had I never been involved with expedition travel, particularly at a young age, I know that I would see the world from a different angle than I do right now. And I'm forever grateful to Adventure Canada. Thank you so much for opening up this world to me. And so, with that, I humbly encourage you to bring the grandchildren or bring the young people in your life with you. To make this possible, we do offer a 30% discount for any traveler under the age of 30 years old. And we do have incentives for younger children as well, which you can find on our website or by just getting in contact with us. Birds are also abundant at this time of year near the height of fledging season, which takes place during late July and early August, which is when we'll be there. This is a very short window to be able to witness the hundreds of thousands of birds. By waiting even just a few weeks longer into September, you would miss the vast majority of the migrating bird species. Muir chicks make a remarkable swimming migration that is unique among birds, and I think it is just the cutest story. So when chicks are about 3 weeks old, they leap from cliffs more than 500 meters high with half-grown wings to set out on these long migrations with their male parent to Newfoundland. The first part of this journey, which can be as long as 1,000 kilometers, is made entirely by swimming, no flying, because the birds are too young to be able to fly before they're about a month and a half years old. I think that it's just such a cute story. And look at that little baby Muir. One of the biggest highlights for the bird enthusiasts, if you're here in the room, will be our visit to Prince Leopold Island, a migratory bird sanctuary, where we'll cruise along the 64-kilometer island by Zodiac for an up-close view of the limestone cliffs and the ledges and the crevices that create an ideal nesting habitat for the variety of seabirds that flock to the island each summer, like the murres that we talked about, northern fulmars, black-legged kittiwags, and black guillemots. But summer travel in the Arctic isn't just peak season for botany, birds, and berries. Wildlife is abundant in the summer months, and we'll be on the lookout for all types, including the Arctic Big Five, which consists of course, our friends, the polar bears, who are actually famously docile during the summer while they're conserving energy. They lay on the rocky coastlines, so there's really good opportunity that we're going to see them and that we're going to be able to get those iconic Coca-Cola, pop can, polar bear photographs. Walrus is another animal in the Arctic Big Five. They're also known as tooth walkers, and they're known for being smelt before they're seen. Not a great thing to be known for, but they're often found flowing the retreating ice north in the summer months. So we'll likely see them while we're cruising on the ship. There's a possibility that it would look just like this, them sitting on the ice, retreating north. Muskox. They're our second smelliest animal on our Arctic Big Five lineup. During the summer, muskox supplement their diet with Arctic flowers and grasses, which are usually near the water, so that's where they're found feeding. And that's what makes traveling by ship and Zodiac all the more beneficial. Number 4 out of 5 is the elusive, seemingly fictional narwhal. Over the summer months, the Canadian Arctic is home to about 90% of the world's narwhal population. They congregate from northern Hudson Bay to Ellesmere Island to feed and rear their young. And finally, the beluga whale is our fifth and final of the Arctic Big Five, known as the canaries of the sea. Much better to be known as the canaries rather than the smelliest. Belugas usually travel in groups of 5 to 20, but during the summertime, they can actually be seen in the hundreds. Thanks to our expedition vessel's shallow draft and our fleet of nimble Zodiacs, we're able to access narrow places like bays and fjords that the beluga whale likes. So that makes the chances of spotting beluga and each of our Arctic Big Five a reality. On a previous expedition that I was on, it wasn't the high Arctic, but it was a Northwest Passage trip. We saw a group of 250 beluga whales swimming alongside the ship near Devon Island, in a region that's now known as Talarutiapamunga, and it was previously known as Lancaster Sound, that you might be a bit more familiar with. But Talarutiapamunga is now Canada's newest national marine conservation area, and it's one of the regions that we'll be visiting on the High Arctic expedition. Talarutiapamunga is located in the northeastern region of Nunavut. It's a large natural and cultural seascape that is one of the most significant ecological areas in the world, working as an ecological engine for most of the eastern Arctic, exploding with life for a brief period in the spring and summer. It's a critical habitat for species like polar bear, bowhead whale, narwhal, and beluga whale. We'll maximize our chances of wildlife encounters by spending 3 days exploring Talarutiapamunga by ship and by Zodiac, and we'll also have expedition landings on Devon Island. Because our expeditions are opportunistic in nature, we will divert off our intended route for wildlife sightings. It's especially likely to happen in dense wildlife regions like Talarutiapamunga. The photo here is from that very scenario. We were sailing along Devon Island to our next stop on one of the Northwest Passage expeditions when we came across this incredible herd of walrus along the shoreline. I can't even count how many there are there, but just an incredible amount to see. So Captain, he slowed the ship right down to a full stop, and then we rotated the ship 360 degrees so that everyone was able to take in this incredible moment and capture those remarkable photos like this one. It was one of the wildlife highlights of the trip, along with the pod of beluga whales that we saw. And that right there is why diverting for wildlife and allowing for that flexibility in the plans is key to expedition travel. And I think that really strikes to the point that expedition travel really is characterized by its dynamic, fluid nature and opportunistic style. Detours, whether it be for weather or for wildlife sightings, can provide unique opportunities and unexpected highlights. And with 33 years of experience in the Arctic, we pride ourselves on our unparalleled adaptability. And we've learned over the years that sometimes plan B is the better plan. Okay, so I think I got my point across. Traveling the Arctic by ship during the summer has some serious benefits. You've got the birds, the botany, the wildlife, the weather, and the opportunity to bring the young people in your life on the ultimate summer holiday. So let's move on to the second major theme that I noticed while on board the expedition in 2019, and that is that the 12-day High Arctic Explorer expedition gets you to two of the most sought after highlights of the Northwest Passage without having to actually traverse the Northwest Passage, which is a 17-day sailing. More time, more money. We get it all done in 12 days on the High Arctic Explorer expedition. So one of those two Northwest Passage highlights is Beechey Island, where the ill-fated Franklin expedition overwintered, and three of Franklin's men and one who attempted to find them is buried on the island with 4 wooden headstones to mark their graves. Beechey Island was also the staging ground for dozens of expeditions who came in search of Franklin. Relics from the different expeditions can be found at Northumberland House, just a short walk from the gravesite. The 5 archaeological sites found here at Beechey Island have been designated a National Historic Site of Canada. And now the second Northwest Passage highlight is Dundas Harbor, where in 1924 the RCMP established an outpost, and then in 1933 Hudson's Bay Company leased that outpost and more than 50 Inuit were relocated. A few old buildings remain standing with doors and windows torn away from whether it be the weather or bears may be coming. But a few hundred meters up the hill behind the buildings, you can also take a nice long walk up to a white picket fence cemetery. And just nearby that site, stone remains more than 1,000 years old of earlier Inuit settlers can be found. So just to stand on these rocky shores of both Beechey Island and Dundas Harbor, just as explorers did so many years ago, it is truly a moving, soul-stirring experience, and it really offers a profound sense of place to be standing on the same land that these people did. It is truly remarkable and an indescribable feeling that you need to experience for yourself. All right, so now we've gone through the benefits of summertime. We understand that summertime has some serious benefits, and now we've gone over the 2 Northwest Passage highlights. So let's talk more about point number 3 now, which is the itinerary's balance between community visits and wild remote landings. So you can see here on the map that I've circled the 2 intended community visits that we plan on having on the High Arctic Explorer expedition. So Ilulissat, Greenland is one of them, and Mitamatalik, Nunavut is the other. But what is especially unique, and you may have already noticed this just by looking at the map, is that you'll be experiencing Arctic community life on both the Canadian and the Greenland side, which is very interesting. For those of you who are looking for a heavy cultural programming and component to the trip, don't worry about it only being 2 community visits that are planned. Many of our local community members will sail with us on board, and they provide us with an in-depth look at their history and their traditions throughout the sailing while they're traveling with you. And I'm going to go into a bit more detail about that in just a moment. So the first community visit that we'll have will be to Mitamatalik, which is also known as Pond Inlet, located on the northern tip of Baffin Island near the eastern entrance of the Northwest Passage. At this very sod house last season that you can see in the photo, community members welcomed us with fresh bannock and hot campfire tea, accompanied by an unbeatable view. It was a really fantastic welcome to have. This is the photo that I took while standing along the beach where we had our Zodiac landing. Mitamatalik is just absolutely stunning, as you can see, from the culture to the scenery. It's not difficult to capture just an absolutely stunning photo when you have sandy beaches that welcome you to the community with a backdrop of mountains and ocean. Even just with a smartphone, like I did with this photograph, they turn out great. You don't need to be a professional photographer to capture stunning photos in the Arctic. So aside from capturing stunning photos and enjoying bannock and tea by the sod house, you can wander the town, which has a small but really fantastic museum that also has a gift shop. There's a co-op, and also Canada's most northerly Tim Hortons is here. At the community hall, members treat us to a traditional welcome ceremony by lighting the killick, playing traditional games, they'll perform songs, and they showcase some of their handmade craft, which is sometimes available for purchase. And our commitment remains to the personal and the shared safety of the local people hosting us in any community that we plan on visiting. So we really have a long-standing relationship with these communities, and their health and well-being are of primary importance to us, just as yours is. Our community visits will be tailored and well planned to ensure community and guest safety is at the forefront of all of the activities that we'll be doing, which will be based on site-specific best practices and the community's requests. So we're working in collaboration with these communities to make sure that everyone is safe and happy and healthy. All right. So I just have a quick video here for you about community visits in Mi'kma'kiwik.
When I started, Adventure Canada is one of the first ships that started coming up with Matthew Swan. Yeah, it's been amazing. Their program has been more involving the community each time. I remember when Matthew Swan came up with the ship, we would have baseball games with the community, and he would bring the trophy and would present the trophy to the community. It was all fun. The visitors get to see the community, mingle with the community. The visitor and the community member can learn something from each other, because we are misunderstood a lot in the world, and I want to share our lives, how we live and be known, and how we use the animals and what we eat is important, just not for us but also for our generation. It's always amazing to meet people from Australia, New Zealand, the US. I am grateful that they come up here to learn the way we live and our culture.
All right, so that was Karen from Mi'kma'kiwik. So now we'll move on to the Greenland side. So in the Greenlandic town of Ilulissat, you'll find a very stark difference between the two communities' scenery. There's no sand beaches here. It's interesting to see the contrast in Inuit life between the Canadian Arctic versus Greenland. Ilulissat is full of primary colored rock-hugging houses, boasting a pretty decent-sized town center home to almost quadruple the population of Mi'kma'kiwik. Despite Ilulissat's geographical location, you really do get a small city vibe here, compared to Mi'kma'kiwik, where you really feel the remoteness of that location. So a typical day in Ilulissat for me always begins with its famous boardwalk, just outside of town. It's a must-do while you're here. It's an easy to navigate boardwalk for most mobility levels, and it leads you to the mouth of the ice fjord, which is fed by Jakobshavn Glacier, one of the fastest moving glaciers in the northern hemisphere that produces up to 35 billion tons of icebergs per year. That's 35 billion tons. So down at the bottom of the boardwalk, you can spend time being next to these just magnificent icebergs. You can find a quiet place to sit and enjoy the sounds of the very active ice. You can hear them cracking and popping under the enormous pressure from the flowing glacier. And if you're lucky, you might even get to see one calve or roll over. And if you sit silently, which is a must do here, you might also hear distant whale blows out in the distance. You can spend some of your day here at the fjord and then some of your time in town exploring everything that it has to offer, like the shops, the cafe, the museum. Or for those of you who are looking for a more adventurous option, there's many walking and hiking trails here that you can explore along the fjord and spend really your entire day could be here right at the fjord. Our time spent in Ilulissat is flexible because there is so much to do here. So we allow you to go and do what you want, do what you please, and what interests you the most. So for myself, I have just a really incredible memory from when I was in Ilulissat in 2019 that I wanted to share with you all today. I haven't actually shared this with very many people, and so I thought today was the greatest opportunity. A good friend of mine was in Malawi, Africa, at the same time that I was traveling on the High Arctic Explorer expedition. And so he had messaged me and asked me if I could send him a video of an iceberg or two to show the kids in Malawi what ice looked like because they had not seen ice before. And so he taught me how to say, hello, my name is Brenna, in their language, Shatonga. And I had a colleague and friend of mine, Rob Como, join me and speak in Inuktitut. So we sent the video over to Africa from Ilulissat, and my friend showed the video to the kids, and he captured their reactions and even tried to teach them a little bit of Inuktitut language. So I'm just going to show you that video of the children's reactions and the ice in Ilulissat.
Timunani Zina Langu Brana.
Robert Muyunga.
Zina Langu Brana.
Oh, Shatonga!
Oh my God.
Inuk.
Inuk Tituk.
Tituk.
Say?
Inuk
Titok.
Yeah, you got it.
Inok Titok.
I just absolutely love that video. That was such a special moment for us. It's really incredible how you can do something up in the Arctic and send it down to Africa in a few minutes and completely influence someone's life. Someone who had never seen ice before, and now they're seeing an ice fjord in Ilulissat, Greenland. It's pretty incredible moment, and I'm glad we were able to do that. Really incredible things can happen on expeditions like this. And so let's continue moving on here. So if Ilulissat by land wasn't enough for you, you had the cafes, the museums, the ice fjord. The cherry on top here is the chance to head out in the Zodiacs and explore the ice fjord from water level. So the Zodiac cruise about the ice is really just magically silent. And the only sounds that you hear aside from the humming of the motor of the Zodiac and the cracking and popping of the active icebergs is the really faint oohs and ahs from your fellow Zodiac cruisers. While cruising the ice, it's really common to see whales here. The most common that we'll see is humpback whales, but we also have a really good chance of also seeing minke, fin, or even possibly orca whales. So a key component of our community visits and really the expeditions overall is hiring local. So our 25 to 35 person resource team always includes several Inuit community members who allow us to learn from a regional perspective on culture, tradition, and the environment. You'll learn about culture and food, tradition, history, and so much more from staff who actually call these regions home. They offer us insightful firsthand knowledge about the places we'll be going and their history. Our large resource teams are comprised of experts in ecology, geology, archaeology, botany, ornithology, marine biology, history and politics, environmentalism, and the arts, and probably so many more that I'm missing in this list. I just can't say anymore. Lectures, presentations, group discussions, workshops, hikes, interpretation, and Zodiac cruises are all spearheaded by this incredible group of resource staff that you'll be traveling with. So one of the staff members that you'll be joining on the High Arctic expedition next season is John Houston, who I'm going to show just a short video about.
I had the great privilege of growing up on Baffin Island, and I have two mother tongues, if you wish, English and Inuktitut. Learned them both at the same time. And the language has been a glorious thing for me. It turns out it's like a passport, and I've lived and worked really around the Inuit circumpolar world. I was born surrounded by Inuit art, and then I started being really interested in the prints. Just standing and beholding that limited edition print would tell you everything that you need to know. And I think that's a very powerful thing. I witnessed that as a kid, and I still keep seeing its power. A lot of times people just look at something and they think, wow, what am I looking at? Like, it moves me in some way, but what is it? There's a whole lot of mystery to this Inuit world. It's protected by distance. It's protected by language. There's cultural barriers. There are so many under-recognized people, particularly up here, again, because of this culture of not tooting your own horn. And so people think, well, if he's not tooting his own horn, he's probably not up to much. Ron?
Wow. Yeah, traveling with John is a real treat. I've traveled with him quite a few times now, and I hope that you have the pleasure to do so next year. So now, on those days where we're not visiting a community, our daily excursions are going to consist of expedition landings and Zodiac cruises in really remote, vast lands where we'll hike, we'll have independent and guided discovery and explore, all of which is included in your tour fare. So at each landing, we break into smaller groups, either based on subject matter. So for instance, you could join a photography workshop, let's say, or you could explore the tundra with a botanist or a geologist, or sketch with an artist, or go on a hike with an ecologist or a cultural ambassador. And at other times, we'll separate based on mobility levels. And so, for instance, we regularly have strenuous, long, medium, and short hikes that are available to choose from, but we'll also have options for beachcombers. We're able to offer this diversity in our programming and offer so many different options to each of our passengers because of the size of our expedition team. We operate with a ratio of 1 expedition staff for every 7 guests. But expedition landings also offer a really good opportunity to just get away from it all and connect with your sense of place, which is so important. On each of our excursions, you'll always have the option to go at your own pace and learn independently. So you don't want to join one of the hikes. You don't want to do a workshop. You just need to go and have some alone time. That's absolutely okay. Whether you're learning about yourself or learning about the land, both portions are equally important on our expeditions. It's important that you take that time to step away and digest. On some days, we'll offer Zodiac cruises as well as expedition landings. A Zodiac cruise that you can look forward to on the High Arctic Explorer expedition takes place during our time near Devon Island, which is home to the Croker Bay Glacier, which is photographed here, where we'll be cruising the face of the glacier by Zodiac to witness this incredible chunk of ice up close. Croker Bay is one of those stops that just makes joining the kayak program all the more appealing. Like, don't you just want to be those 2 people in this photograph? Because I do. Paddling in these pristine waters, it just provides you with that quiet and relaxing way to tap into that sense of place I was talking about. And it allows you to see sights from a completely different perspective. You'll be paddling in tandem kayaks alongside an expert kayak guide to ensure your safety, of course. And the kayak program really does need to be pre-reserved before your expedition. because there are limited spaces available, only 12 kayakers per expedition. So if you are keen on experiencing Arctic Sea kayaking while you're on your high Arctic adventure, I highly recommend that you secure your spot soon because those will fill up. And if you're looking for another method of exploration aside from kayaks or walking, where the terrain allows, it is possible to rent Kona mountain bikes from the ship. So the bikes are rented on a first come, first served basis. It's not like the kayak program where you need to pre-register. You just let us know on board. You know what? I think today's the day that I'm going to take out a Kona mountain bike, and we'll get you all set up with a bike that fits. So folks, I think we've gone over it all. Those are the three main pillars of what I think makes the High Arctic Expedition what it is, an absolutely incredible Arctic journey. So just to recap those, it was the height of Arctic summer. It brings all those benefits that we went over, the birds and the Big Five and 24-hour sun and the opportunity to bring the kids and the botany. And you're able to reach those two highly sought after history buff destinations of the Northwest Passage on only a 12-day expedition. And of course, last but not least, it has that refined balance of community visits, getting that culture element, going in and seeing these places versus wild remote landings where you can explore on your own, get away from it all. So basically, to summarize here, the High Arctic Expedition is the perfect choice for you if any of these interest you: botany, wildlife, history, ice, photography, archaeology, or exploring Inuit culture or remote lands. The High Arctic Expedition allows you to travel in a way that enriches your soul. You will walk away at the end feeling with a feeling of connection, growth, and understanding of these regions. And really, I do think that in 2021, after everyone's been feeling so cooped up and everything's been so confusing, this is the type of travel people will be looking for. An experience that's more than just travel. It's impactful, it's educational and meaningful. It's an investment into your personal growth and a better understanding of this big, wide, complex world that we live in. And the best way to achieve this is to travel with a company who works towards a positive future for the planet. At Adventure Canada, we're reimagining business practices that aren't business as usual. Instead, we're looking at innovative ways to run our operations, support our partners, appreciate the natural world, and value people by undertaking a number of initiatives to leave the places we touch and the world in general a better place. So the Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. The 17 goals are all interconnected, and in order to leave no one behind, it's important that we achieve them all by 2030. We've narrowed down our focus at Adventure Canada to 9 of the 7 developmental goals, and this visual here that you can see showcases those 9 goals in some of the places that we're working hard to support the UN's goals. We believe that we make a difference, and our guests make a difference when they choose to travel with us, and we surely hope that you will be one of them. And if you are looking to travel with us next season, you'll be happy to know that our High Arctic Explorer expedition and all of our Arctic and European and East Coast expeditions are all currently 15% off until October 31st, which isn't too long away. About a month and a half away we have until the 15% expires, so be sure to get in contact with us. For those of you who are feeling a little bit hesitant to book in the current environment, I totally get it. I totally get it. You're itching to have a trip of a lifetime to look forward to next year, but you have things holding you back. I highly recommend that you check out our new Book with Confidence policy on our website. It's going to offer you more information and give you some security on the flexible booking and transfer policies that we have here at Adventure Canada. If you have any questions or you're ready to book this incredible adventure, I recommend that you get in touch with one of our adventure specialists or, of course, your preferred travel agent soon for the best cabin availability and pricing, and to get on things like the kayak program. Each of our adventure specialists, myself, Sam Friedberg, and Cheryl Saint. We've all had first-hand experience on board, and we'll be more than happy to share knowledge. And if you'll listen to us, we'll tell you all of our stories that we have that we're dying to tell everyone. You or your travel agent can get in contact with us. You can do it by email, which is info@adventurecanada.com, or you can give us a call. We can chat over the phone. It's 1-800-363-7566. So just before we end the presentation and we go into the contest, I just want to show you one last video. I promise this is the last one. This one was shot on the High Arctic Explorer Expedition. And I think just it really summarizes everything we've talked about and what I'm trying to get across here with the High Arctic 3 themes. So it sums it up all quite nicely. So let's flip over to that video, and then after we're done that, we're going to move into the contest and say our goodbyes.
Experience the transformative power of the High Arctic. At the heart of summer, sail through some of the world's richest waters, where life thrives and adventure awaits. Join us on High Arctic Explorer.